What drives a swimmer to give up their social life, sacrifice so much to have a goal of maybe making an Australian Olympic team, possibly even giving up their health to achieve that dream?
They've gotta have the internal motivation. They've gotta have that will and that sense of enjoyment of the sport, of swimming. I mean, that's number one. Without that, because that can get stripped back by the goals, the training, the progress, the all of those other demands that are placed on their body, but they've got to have that deep internal sense of motivation and purpose.
So that drive, most of us think that we've got drive, but is there something deeper that a swimmer needs to achieve that dream? The possibility of changing themselves, moving from a swimmer into something far greater than themselves, or willing to make that change.
They've got to have the mindset, the body and the mind, obviously, together will get them there. They've got to have the physical fitness, but not necessarily, the greatest ability. I think, especially with swimming, they can really improve and work on their technique and focus on those small gains or marginal gains, if you like, to really help them. But it's not just, it's not just the drive coming from themselves. They've got a great team around them. So you've got to have that support around you um, to help guide you and nurture you on that journey. And sometimes that drive wanes.
But to be an Olympic swimmer, to make an Australian Olympic team, you need something greater. Is there a drive to become immortal into the future, to be remembered as a great? For that level of swimmer to achieve that, there's got to be something deeper to motivate a swimmer to that level?
I think the answer is yes. There's that deep sense of belief. You've got to have that when it all gets really challenging and things go wrong and injuries can take over. They've got to have that relentless sense of self-belief, which wanes again as well. And again, you can get your support to come in and help you when that happens. But I think, is there something greater? I think the mindset, that determination, that then, when the body's going along nicely, that can sit there, but that then clicks in.
To be an Olympic swimmer, particularly an Australian Olympic swimmer, there's that they've got to have something special to survive the grind, to turn their body, which has its limits, into a machine. How can a swimmer, we're looking at a swimmer on the blocks about to dive in, is there something that takes the elite, something that drives them that's greater than the person that finishes second or third?
Perhaps it's that curiosity of actually, what can I do beyond what I think I'm capable of? In my current state of the human condition, can I actually push that? It could simply be that curiosity. Curiosity is quite a powerful trait or virtue to have, I think, in terms of that elite group.
And would that swimmer, that machine that's got
Mm,
that drive to
mm.
achieve, do they need the faith and the self-belief to make it into that team?
Yeah, I think belief. You've got to have the belief. You need to have a team around you that believe in you. You can draw on that when your belief gets tired and fatigues. I think I think also the willingness to fail. That willingness to, or that vulnerability, put yourself, because you're putting yourself on a line and risking everything for actually not knowing whether it's actually going to translate into success. So it's that deep sense of belief and that willingness for things to go wrong.
So they're striving and they've got that drive, they're striving, they're pushing their body beyond normal limits. What if they don't make it? As a sports psychologist, what strategies can you put in place, or can the swimmers, the parents put in place to enable that athlete to cope with not making it?
Failure is, one of the most important parts of the journey. And when that happens, so if, you put in all this you're fueling that internal motivation and you're going through the progress of, and the process rather of training and exerting yourself and all that commitment. And yeah, sometimes it doesn't translate into the reward that you want. So you go back to, okay, looking at times where you've had setbacks and actually thinking, well, what did I do? Okay, I overcame that. So I know I can overcome setbacks, and actually having time to absorb that setback, not just having it smoothed over with, oh, come on, you'll be right. You get back up on your feet. Actually, yeah, grieving that loss, having time to do that, but then resetting and reframing that experience for, okay, well, what did I learn from it? What do I need to do? It's that growth mindset, isn't it?
And your experience of working with elite swimmers and elite triathletes, elite athletes, does that make the difference between the great athlete, the one that strives to achieve their goal and make a team, versus those that don't?
It 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 is, and also something else is the ability to problem solve, and that's linked to that growth mindset. Where when things don't go to plan, not necessarily fail, but things might not go exactly how you want them to. It's that ability to, okay, well, this happened, so it didn't go to plan. That psychological flexibility, I can adapt on the spot and then reframe that and then work out a solution and then go forward in a slightly different way, but still feel like I'm going forward and going towards my goals. So it's that, and whether that comes from your upbringing and your childhood experiences and your parents, um, everyone involved in your upbringing, I think that's a really big or powerful trait to have, that ability to look at something that goes wrong and problem solve it, reframe it.
I'm going to put to you that at the Australian swim trials, to make an Olympic team, something that a young swimmer's worked for 15 years, maybe longer, to get to those trials, to have that one hit, and they don't make it. How do they cope with that?
Sometimes with difficulty. And I think, you know, as much as it's important to be driven and focus on wanting to get to a particular place as an elite swimmer, that athletic identity is the priority. There's also there are other identities in that person that they need to nurture. So it's life outside of the sport, thinking about, well, what else, who am I outside of my sport? Um, and, not seeing the failure as a personal attack, an attack on you as a person. It's on that particular ability on that day and in that performance. So again, it's separating the self-belief and that self-esteem piece. So not taking it deeply personal, taking it personally in terms of my performance, as opposed to, so I didn't have a great race, rather than I'm not a great swimmer. They're very, very different.